So this is the Marseille Tarot of Claude Rochias, 1754, and this is another Use Reno deck that I purchased just to collect, not to do readings, but it's a numbered deck of 1500, and I have 1459, and here it says, Master Card Maker in Saint-Sulpice, Switzerland. It's based on a copy of a private collection, one of the most remarkable historic tarot of the Marseille type, created in Switzerland. Very well preserved tarot, bright colors, mirrored orientation of the icons. So some of them are flipped, and they're just the orientation is wrong because of the way the printing was in when they did the printing. It happens, especially if they're in a rush to print stuff, you know. So let's look at it. It's in a coffin box. And then you get, with the Use Reno decks, you get two cards with a number on there, one in English and one in French. In this one, you can see here's the two of coins, and it says Claude Rochias L'Héritier Saint-Sulpice 1754. So Fay Par. And I usually try to put, I don't know, recently I've been putting little things as I do these. This is actually a wooden nickel that was pretty popular in because of a saying, you know, don't take any wooden nickels from anyone. Well, this is a wooden nickel and it has a buffalo because of buffalo nickels. And usually there's an advertisement. This one says, encourage the hobby of fancy poultry. Much good is possible, a great challenge. Stromberg's, Fancy Chicks and Pets Unlimited, Fort Dodge, Iowa. And my great-grandfather actually raised poultry and would show it in fairs, so this is one of the things he brought back. So, I don't know, it's kind of cool. I found it fairly recently in his stuff, but it is a wooden nickel, so anyway, so that's my little thing. So let's look at the cards. So the cards, you know, fairly smooth, cut square, and the backs are reversible, and it's a fleur-de-lis pattern. Nice fleur-de-lis. You see? And they're like up and down and up and down. So let's look at so this one says it's known for the bright colors, but also some of the reversed, the reverses of the mirror image of the way, you know, if you flip something, it becomes a mirror image of it, especially with wood blocks, which a lot of these are based on. So we have the street entertainer, the juggler, the magician. The colors are very bright. Here we have one with crosses. Ooh. Wow. This card looks like a photocopy of a photocopy of a photocopy. It looks really blocky and just over inked, and just, it's a lovely, pleasing image of the Cupid figure. But the inking here is very heavy. I love the flesh tone, that's nice. L'amoureux. Here we have a chariot. Here we have the faces, HB, the horses. justice. Symmetrical. You can hardly see the scales. They blend in very, very much so into the Hermit. Wheel of Fortune. Here is we see a reversal. The handle's over there. Well, a mirror, not so much a reversal. Here we have a bright red tongue, a bright red ear, almost like a baboon. Parrot-colored headdress. Her eye is wonky. The pendu, the hanged man. I think this is also a mirrored. The unnamed card is named here, La Morte. So usually it's not named in the Marseille, but this one it is. It's reversed, I believe. The red scythe, the sickle, human dismembered pieces. Temperance. It's a lovely face. The sort of flower on the head. Le Diable. The baton is rather strange. The tongue, the breast, the genitals. No face in the belly, though. La Maison d'Eux. So it's hard to see there. Person emerging. It's kind of a blurry, not very defined card, very blurry. It's lovely in its own way. Now this card is interesting. So of all the cards in the Major Arcana, this one to me strikes me as sort of different and strange. We have the little bird here. We have the water. We have her face, which is really strange, almost like it's been recreated. And her body is sort of strange looking. And we have the stars there. But this is the most striking thing. And she's kneeling on this green piece right there. It's a very odd card for the Marseille. Here we have the lovely La Lune. We have the crab. The moon is actually quite lovely in this deck. It is quite nice. So my theory with this card. So everything I've read says it's a crab. It's a crab. It looks like a crayfish to me. And I've eaten crayfish. I've seen crayfish. Crayfish build a chimney out of little round balls, and they stack them together, and they make a little. It's called a chimney. They call it the chimney of a crayfish or crawfish. I say crayfish. Crawfish down south, crayfish further middle north. I actually have one outside of my backyard. Wherever there's water or a ditch, you'll see sometimes they just appear, these crayfish chimneys. And the chimney is so that when it's high tide, it can retreat into the chimney so it's not completely submerged. It's also, it performs a bunch of functions. Bigger chimneys, bigger crayfish. It's just something they do. And they burrow, and so they live on land, they're terrestrial, but they love water, and the chimney is there. It deals with the tides, so it's a crab, and a crayfish is a crab, but so is a horseshoe crab. So it's a crab, but this is so much a crayfish. If you've had crayfish, they actually taste swampy. There's sort of a sulfur, nutty taste to them. They're quite good. It's like a mini lobster. almost shrimp-sized, but quite good. Straighten my cards up. The Soleil. It's a beautiful sun on this card. And they're depicted very well too. They almost look like they have sumo belts on or something. The color, the offset here is it's pretty bad, but here we have the jugement. The jugement. This card is it's very red and yellow and bright, and we have the Le Mans, the world. This one's she's coming off, the bird too. And here we have the Fool Le Mans. Bells looking upward, the dog tearing the pants, the bell that's fallen. It's hard to see, but it's there. I actually had a chance to practice my French. I had a conference in Phoenix, and on the way back, I stopped at the bar at the airport because I needed a martini, and someone was sitting beside me, and she said that she was. Well, I said. I think I said something like, "Tu es de France?" Are you from France? I think that's what I said. And she's like, no. She said she was from Quebec. I was like, oh, I've been there. I've been to Montreal. And so we started talking. She had a French book in front of her. That's how I knew she was French. So I talked about French directors and books, and I'm reading Jean Genet right now. And so she was lovely. Her name was Sophie. So Sophie, who was traveling was at the Phoenix airport last week. It was lovely talking to you. All I know is her name is Sophie. But it was fun to speak French with her. And she didn't criticize my French. She's like, oh, you're good. You can read French. I'm like, I read some. I took 3 years and didn't learn as much as I could have. So here we're in the Wands or Batons. And these cards, usually you see the black a little darker than it is here. But it's there. This one is, you can really see there's some strange stuff going on here, like almost like there's a ghosting of something else behind it. This one as well. But I mean, these are historical reproductions, so this is nothing bad to say about Yves Renaud, who is wonderful for bringing these lovely decks back to light. Some of which probably would have never seen, an edition in my lifetime. They are lovely. See that ghosting? It's almost like a sketch behind the actual card. This one's a lot cleaner. I like this shading here from dark to light. That's actually that gradient is actually quite pleasing. That's the 10. Here we go into the face cards. Valet de Baston. Cavalier de Baston. It's almost like this. That takes up the whole front, and that ferny foreground that we see in the other cards the ferny sort of the botanical look is gone. Now this is lovely. Her hair flowing here, the crown, her face, the wreath. That is beautiful. That really is very lovely. The look of almost like contemplation on her face, complacency, pleasing. Roi de Baston. Fancy dress, fancy crown. And here we go into swords. And this is the order in which I got the deck. So the suites, they're ordered. Sometimes the swords tend to be the last, but this is not the case. We have a crown, we have the stuff, we have the red, bright red sword. And the swords, compared to the batons, they're always curved, which it always confuses me. The more I read with the Marseille, the better I'll get. I never thought I'd give Marseille a chance, but, you know, there is this historical loveliness to it that, you know, especially if you have any French in your blood, in your heritage, you sort of owe it to yourself to kind of reacquaint yourself with the Marseille and awaken those sort of ancient feelings, those, you know, like whenever I smell beeswax candles, and I own beeswax candles, something in me activates. It has to be something that my ancestors, you know, they smelt it. They, you know, it's something triggers inside me that it's very pleasing. It's a lovely scent. These beeswax candles, I mean, it's just amazing. Sort of a fading there. I mean, I think if people that you were related to, you know, if they were exposed to things, I think that something passed down. It's not something psychic. I think it's something in your genes. You know, you have a proclivity to want to seek things out that people before you found pleasing or interesting, or it made a big impact. So beeswax candles for me, something about them, it's just the smell, this earthy, nutty smell. Nine, remember odd cards, they show the sword. And then the 10th card shows two swords. And this one you can see there's that ghosting. And here we have the face cards. Le Despie, I can't pronounce that. The pink hair is interesting. The sword looks metallic, it's not red. Cavalier de Despie. Reine Despie. She's holding her stomach almost like she's pregnant. And Roi Despie. Faces and epaulettes. Fancy. And remember, he's the fancy one. I always say he's, you know, the sword. The sword's the king. He's always seems to be the fanciest one. Here we go into the coins, or the, let's see, these are called, let's look, denier, yeah. Here's the one that's on the back. Fait par Claude Rochias L'Héritier à Saint-Sulpice, 1754. The red is bleeding like some cheap lipstick. Here we have the fleur-de-lis, right here. Sometimes this is replaced with other things. Here it's the fleur-de-lis. There are those flowers. So this floral leaf pattern we saw sort of ghosting in the swords. Again, this cardstock is actually quite substantial. It's very, it's quite durable. It's something, if you wanted to read with these cards, you definitely could. And the print, the color, if you look, it is substantial. These are very well made cards. So if you're curious and you really want to purchase some from Use Right Now, it's well worth it. The site Collect Tarot also has them. Some of them, they tend to sell out. But these decks average for around $40. It's well worth it, especially for a lovely historical deck. Here's the valet with the name on the side. Swingways is the 2. Here's the Cavalier de Denier. It's funny, when I was talking to Sophie at the bar, I told her I was reading Jean Genet, and she thought I said Jean Genot, who is another author. And she's like, oh, I had to read him in high school. And I'm thinking, I don't think you had to read Jean Genet. And so she told me the name of the book. I'm like, he didn't write that. She's like, oh, I'm sorry, my French is awful, I'm sorry. And she's like, oh, she looked up Jean Genet. She's like, oh, yeah, oh. The Crown, very wood blocky. This is very wood blocky. Just the hand, the face, the intentional shading, that sort of hatching. And the King. Okay. And here we have the lovely cups, the last suit in our one. We have the 3 things there. We have the, of course, the reliquary card. And this one, the 2 of cups. Always has, and there's RC for, I guess maybe it's Claude Rochias. I don't know. The dolphin fish depiction. The 3 of cups, a very good card to get. Possible love interest coming. It's funny, I've never been baptized. I have never taken communion, so I've never, partaken of a communion chalice. I've always been curious. I'm like, what does the wine taste like? And I like wine. I like, red wine. I like good red wine. Peppery, chewy red wine. So I'm like, looking at these cards reminds me, they're all full of wine. Red wine, communion wine. Transubstantiation wine. Half of my family's Catholic. The other half was sort of Baptist, so since there was sort of a disagreement, I was never baptized, and I never really went to church, but the churches I did go to were Catholic. I went to Baptist church sometimes, but the Catholic church, because of its rituals, because of its lovely, everything was very, this is how it is, was more appealing to me, but and I have sort of a soft spot for Catholics, but this is very plain. You know, we have this is indulgence too much, you know, oversaturation, this card. But I have a soft spot for Catholics, but damn if the church isn't money hungry. They always want some money. Money, 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 money. Tithe, tithe, tithe. Here we have, he has a stripe down there. There's the printing. With the Queen with her covered cup. And we have, he looks like he could be Confucius. He looks a little Asian. Covered cup. Looking off. The king, crown, the throne. And that is the deck. I'm going to put this back in the box. And if you notice this yellow cloth that I'm reading on and showing you the cards, this is Silk Dupioni. It's a golden color. I bought it and actually I hemmed it myself on my sewing machine because I wanted a nice golden white cloth. Silk and tarot go together pretty much hand in hand. They just go really well. And I wanted a nice sort of lay cloth. So I bought this from a place that specializes in remnants from designer garments. And so this is probably, it would make up a dress or a blouse or something. And it is lovely. I love the slubs in the fabric. And yeah, it's just a nice golden color. You know, if I wanted to wrap up a tarot deck, if I wanted to travel with it, you know, I could easily, you know, wrap it up, keep it safe in the box, nice. But for now, it's a good cloth to sort of have. And the cool thing about Dupioni is you can snag it and nobody would know because of the slubs. Because the slubs themselves lend to, they look like they're snags. So it's a pretty durable silk as well. Anyway, that's me talking about the Claude Rochias 1754 Tarot, a limited edition by Yves Vino. As always, thank you for watching. If you've made it this far to any of my videos, to the end, I am grateful. One thing I'm trying to do is improve the quality of them. I'm trying to improve lots of things. Just, I mean, the more you do it, the more you talk, the more you go into them. I'm learning. Hopefully we're learning together, and that's the beauty of it all. So thank you so much. Thank you.